Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
I'm Jonathan Federa. I'm here to inspire you to hustle and grow your income while doing what you love. Just because you have problems doesn't mean you can't prosper. Just because you have tragedy doesn't mean you can't triumph. Actually, you should be taking advantage of that.
There's positivity in my pain. I took scarcity and turned it into strength. I always tell life, there's not much you can do to me where I won't make an obstacle an opportunity. We never lose, we only learn lessons. If you wanna change your perspective. If you don't know how to do that, we'll show you how right now. This is about to go down. You are tuning in to creating success out of failure. Creating success creating success out of failure. Out of failure.
Welcome to Creating Success Out of Failure. I have a really good personal friend of mine, Brian Hess. He has Top Contractors School in the Pavement group. And I'm going to let him take it from there and kind of tell you all the things that he's working on and what he's done.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So Brian Hess, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, born and raised, spent some time in South Florida. For those people who are in South Florida, I'm sure you got some connections listening down there. So spent 5 years in Fort Lauderdale, moved back to Pittsburgh, started the Pavement Group, got 4 kids, a wife, a couple businesses. And, probably I was just telling you this story before we started, but about 3 years ago, I was always entrepreneurial, but was working for companies and kind of got to this point where, I had to make a decision. There was the company that I was working with at the time was being acquired. And so I was like, man, what do I do? Do I take this leap or do I go and work for these people? Right. And at that moment, I just thought like, man, I can't do this again. Like everywhere that I've worked, I've kind of felt like it was falling short of what I really wanted. And I felt like there was more, inside of me. But to the title of your podcast, man, I had that, deathly afraid feeling of like, man, what if this doesn't work? And I don't know what it was, man, but in that moment, I just said, I'm not going to go do this. I'm not going to go sacrifice myself for somebody else, feeling like I'm a sellout. I'm going to go take the leap. I'm going to jump. And, that was 3 years and change ago, started the Pavement Group and Top Contractor School right around the same time. Just last year, this year became a partner in Lead Revenue, got involved with Lead Revenue about a year ago. So a digital marketing company that's focused on helping contractors. Okay. And a lot going on, man, busy schedule, but this is exactly what I always wanted to do in my life. I told my wife a couple of weeks ago, like, man, if something ever happened to me tomorrow, don't cry for me, man. I am doing exactly what I want to do every single day, and the people I get to do it with and the people I get to meet along the way, like yourself, it's awesome. It's exactly what, when I was a little kid and I imagined, growing up and getting after it, this is exactly the way that I imagined it.
That's amazing. That speaks to a lot of what entrepreneurship's about. Now, I want to know, because I am currently kind of doing this myself. You have a ton of experience with, contractors. How did you basically start 2 businesses at once? Because no matter what, even if you have the experience, dude, you're a startup. And that comes with every nightmare and every challenge and every headache. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? How'd you keep organized? How'd you just start 2 companies at once, but most people struggle to have one?
Yeah. And it's funny, man. I was on Tom Reber's podcast about a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, like, most people start a business, and they just start a business like a local thing. You started 2 businesses and they were both national, like, right? Yeah. You're all across the country. And to be honest, man, the reason that it made sense is that, Top Contractor School was always an idea to kind of give back to those contractors that help us. The Pavement Group is, we self-perform work as well, but we have a lot of subcontracted work across the country with local paving contractors that help us out. And so I always wanted to be able to give that knowledge back to those people, the people that were helping us, right? And so that was the concept of Top Contractor School. I saw a need for that, that there wasn't a lot of training, there wasn't a lot of business structure, sales, marketing, leadership training available in our industry. And so it was a real compliment to the Pavement Group. So the Pavement Group was, something that I was kind of doing when I was working for people, right? I was, building relationships and, kind of solving those same problems that we solve at the Pavement Group prior to. And I saw this kind of need to complement that. I saw other national companies like ours that weren't necessarily giving back to those contractors. And so it really made sense to me to start them both at the same time. I'm not sure that knowing what I know now, I would do it the same, but it worked, right? We got here and everything's working, so it did work. But man, it was tough. It was countless hours, man. And like, when people say 16 hours a day plus every day as an entrepreneur to get things moving and to really get started, that's not a joke. That's not nobody's embellishing those numbers.
Yeah.
It was a long time, man, of many, many nights sitting in front of a desk, just grinding away, man. And for not a lot of return, if any, right?
Yeah.
And then, eventually, that seesaw kind of flips. And then, as you get to the other side, it starts to get a little bit easier. So you make a little bit more money for your time than maybe sometimes what you even feel like you deserve. But in the beginning, brother, it's a lot of, as you know, sleepless nights and long days, just grinding away, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. It's usually, how am I going to do this? You have a good month, a bad month. It's kind of managing a lot of emotions all at once too, And then I think a big thing is people don't know where to turn to when they're stuck. And I think that is huge. Like, it's definitely okay to ask for help. I can tell you that, I'm very stubborn with certain things, and it took me a long time to learn, hey, why don't you look at people who have done what you want to do, or, are strong where you're weak, and bring them on and be part of this journey.
Yeah, one thing I just want to say about emotions, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, especially startup entrepreneurs, get kind of overwhelmed by that emotional thing. One of the things that I feel lucky that I was always in sales, and I got to a point where I really understood about sales that, like, it really is a game of numbers, that you don't have to get too emotional about it. And I really applied that to entrepreneurship. Like, I knew, you got to take a certain number of at-bats, right? You have to have a massive amount of activity. And so, to be able to take the emotions out of entrepreneurship, it really becomes a game of numbers. And you being a finance guy, you probably know that more than anybody, but it really is. It's just a game of numbers. And if you boil it down to that, it gets a lot easier. And to your point of other people, there's no way, man, that I would have gotten to where I am if I didn't rely on the network that I was able to build. I'm always curious. I'm always asking questions. I'm always trying to figure out how I can help somebody else, because I know that somehow that's going to return, right? It's going to come back. Those people are naturally going to want to return the favor. It's just the way that the world works. For most people, I'd say 99% of people are that way.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal, dude. Always be searching, because you never know, man, when that one person that you met that you thought, you couldn't do anything for, or they couldn't do anything for you. You never know down the road when that person might be able to solve a major problem for you.
Absolutely. It's huge. Because it's maintaining relationships, right? And a lot of people don't understand how powerful relationships are. I'll never say the person's name, but a relationship was able to save me and get my house closed, when if I did liquidate things, it would have been a huge taxable event. So that, to me, just shows, everything that you need to know. So it's who you keep in that circle and how you edit that circle. Speaking of circles, I kind of want to go into yours, right? I've been in a lot of programs. I've been at a lot of events. Talk to us about how you build culture. And I just want to give everyone a backstory before you start. So I went to Brian's event to help out a little bit, talk about business credit. And you get a feeling that when you were in that room, it is everybody was family. Every single person there was family, and they would give you the shirt off their back. It's hard to build that culture. And one of the things that moved me the most, and I don't know if we talked about this, is when you actually had your kids in the room. Because that I love. Hey, this is what daddy does. This is how I help people. That's absolutely amazing. But talk to us about how you go about building that culture, because that's what's going to allow certain entrepreneurs to win, how quickly you can get to that level.
Yeah, it's a great question, man, and thank you for the compliment. You know, we have an incredible group of people, and you know, sometimes I ask myself that question, like, how did we, you know, how did we end up here? Like, how did we get so lucky? There are definitely, you know, some indicators of things that, you know, I've done along the way that I didn't realize. You know, you don't always realize that you're doing the right things. You're just, you know, kind of doing things that come to mind as you go. But you know, TCS, Top Contractor School, has really been an organization that was it was founded for the right reasons. It was founded, you know, to help people to actually give back to those contractors, and I think that's a big part of it, right? It's always been kind of a mission type thing, you know, mission over profit. You know, it's you know, certainly gotten big. There's 350 plus contractors in all the programs there. But when it comes to culture, man, the best advice that I could give people is, you know, take a long, hard look in the mirror and figure out what's really important to you. And not the material things, not the, you know, not your financial goals, not the anything, but just like truly what are the principles that guide you, you know, and, you know, one of the exercises that I've done in my career is to look at those people that you admire the most. You know, let's say the 5 people that are closest to you, and then think about the characteristics about those people that you admire, right? You know, those values that kind of stand out to you. And that really is the fabric of who you are, or who, you know, probably who you are. And in some cases, maybe who you aspire to be, but for the most part, it's going to be the fabric of who you want to be. And then as you repeat that, man, and I'll kind of throw out a, you know, something that a lot of people probably realize, but like this will cement it for you, is like, you know, I'm on episode 360 something of my podcast in the morning, right? I was doing it every morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, live on Facebook, and then it syndicates the podcast. I just moved it to 8 o'clock because my morning routines got kind of so packed that I had to pump it back half an hour. But I really believe this, man, that when you speak on what you believe with enough frequency, you start to attract those people that really believe what you believe, you know? Yeah. And that is what you experienced in that room. Those people really came organically. You know, I didn't run ads. I've never spent $1 on marketing. You know, wasn't something that I wanted to grow exponentially, you know, for some financial gain, you know, and what that event, man, was really such a gift to me to be able to watch that group and to say like, man, you know, that is really something to be proud of, to be part of. Yeah. Because to your point, man, that group of people, and you hit the nail on the head, man, they would give you the shirt off their back, and they would stop whatever they're doing to help anybody. And to build that culture, especially in the contracting space where there's so much mistrust, yep. Is exactly, you know, what was the dream of mine in the beginning, right? Was to change that idea of like, man, we can trust each other, and we can, you know, exist in the same room and share our secrets. And to take it a step further, man, after the event, imagine this, like one of the guys referred somebody else, another company that's in his city, to join that group. Yeah. Basically a head-to-head competitor. Yeah. We have 2 people in the same city. And he said, like, this guy's a good guy, man, and he needs to be part of this group. He deserves to be part of this group. And that's a great feeling, man. And I think that as we continue to grow that and just allow more people to kind of find their way to that group, you know, we interview the people that come in, you know, making sure, yep, that things are in alignment, you know, that the cost of the group isn't more than what somebody should be paying financially. And, you know, just kind of making sure that those things line up so that it's not, so that it's right. You know, when somebody comes in, that they're going to contribute to the group and the group is going to contribute to them. And that, in my opinion, that's what it's all about, right? It's about finding the right people and then getting out of the way and letting those people kind of build that culture themselves.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you, what are some of the top challenges you see in your space? Like, what are some of the things that the average contractor goes through or struggles with, and that you kind of teach them how to solve or how to fix?
Yeah. So in the contracting space, man, the story is almost, it's almost a copy of each other, right? Most
Yep.
of the time. And that story is either one or the other. It's either a company's really good at sales and marketing, or they're really good in operations. And that just depends on, where the founder or owner kind of started,
Okay.
And in a lot of cases, these construction companies are family businesses. Somebody was probably working for somebody else. They were excellent at the trade. And they decided, man, I'm done working for this guy or this girl. I'm going to go do it myself. And so then they start, working through the actual business part of owning a business. And that's complex, man. It's not easy. And it doesn't matter whether you're exceptional in sales or exceptional in operations, or if you're average at both. There's the actual running the business portion that's complex too. And so for us, man, Top Contractor School as a whole really started as sales, leadership, marketing, things like that were naturally good for me. And that was really what I was looking to solve. And then through building this group, man, we have been able to solve any problem that somebody has because that knowledge exists within the group. And so I think one of the cool things, and again, unexpectedly for me, it wasn't something that I planned or thought of in the beginning. I was always putting that pressure on myself. Like, I have to be able to deliver this information. I have to be prepared. I have to know all the content. I have to keep searching this stuff out. When in reality, man, when I got the first handful of people that are still with me to this day, the Keith Galloways, the Kevin Grays, the guys like that are experts in different areas within the business, the people that are on my team at the Pavement Group. And really, man, it's like, we just connect them with the person that's the expert. And we help as a group kind of solve those problems. So it's not necessarily just the content that they learn from. It's the community that we've built and the resources that are available there. But I would say the biggest challenge, man, is coming to terms with the fact that you don't have to be good at both of those things.
Yeah.
And then, figuring out what the path looks like to fill that gap, whatever that gap may be in your business. And the other part that I usually see in businesses, and this is related to the culture thing that we were just talking about, is most contracting companies, and you've probably experienced this because you're probably funding them when they go through this, but they have explosive growth at some point, and they don't know what to do because they got more business than they got people and money and everything else. And so what do? They just start throwing people at the problem, right? They say, man, I can solve this if I just hire 4 more people. And those people never get properly trained, and they may not, and probably don't, fit their culture or their principles, right? What they stand for. And that is really the problem that I saw that I was trying to solve for with TCS is like, man, there's so many companies, most of them that have lasted the test of time have experienced that explosive growth, and they've never really caught up to, the lack of training that they experienced when they threw people at the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
And so we're able to kind of bring them into this community, listen to some of the challenges that are going on within their business, and then all the businesses that exist within there that do have a strong culture, that do have sound operations, that have a great marketing and sales strategy, they can kind of duplicate that same process and create success for their own companies.
Genius. Yeah. I mean, what I see a lot of too is they don't manage their cash flow. There was in that space, more so than any other space, it is a cash flow nightmare, because a lot of times you guys are starting jobs, you got to lay out the money, and then it might be 30, 60, 90 days till you pay, and then they're scrambling. And if they start too many jobs at once, something is going to give. Or if somebody gets slow paid, that's always what I've seen. And it's I don't know, what do you attribute that to? Do you think it's poor planning? Do you think it's culture? Like, where do you see that, and how do you coach these guys around that?
Yeah, so it is 100% accurate, man. It is what happens in most companies, and I believe, man, the more successful a company is, the faster that problem actually happens, because it doesn't matter. I say this to people, like, you could give me any amount of money, right? Let's just say you handed me $2 million cash tomorrow to add to our business.
Yeah.
Well, me being an entrepreneur, I'm probably going to deploy that money. Like sitting there and staring at it doesn't do me any good, right? So I'm going to deploy that money to help grow the business. So like you end up in the same problem, almost inevitably.
Yes.
It's a reciprocal problem. And so what happens, man, and in a lot of the country, the business is seasonal. So you have this like burn of cash through the off season. And then you have this pent up demand at the beginning of the season where you do have to start a bunch of jobs at once. And then to your point, it's a 30, 60, 90-day pay, whatever it may be. Well, 30 really means 40 by the time it comes in the mail, 40 or 45.
Yep.
60 means 75. And you know how that goes. And there's paperwork and processing. And if your office isn't dialed in perfectly, it just turns into a challenge no matter what. And so coaching these guys through this problem is really, you have to be more conservative and you have to go faster in growing your business. And then you've got to be smart about how you manage that money. And you have to be reviewing that every single day. I've built a report for myself where I sit down every single day. And I think I shared this with you. Like I look at our bank account balance,
Yep.
our sales yesterday, our sales week to date, our sales month to date, our sales year to date. And I'm looking at a cash flow projection of, so if I know a job is approved, I know that job's probably going to get started between 2 and 4 weeks from now. And then I'm going to get paid in 30 to 45 days. So I calculate that out and I can look at the profit and pretty much predict when that money's going to start flowing in. Well, then I know exactly how much it costs us to run our business every month. And so I'm really keeping my finger on the pulse of cash flow and people, have a hard time understanding that. And so we coach through that concept of like, what does it mean? How much does it actually cost to run your business? You'd be amazed, man, how many people don't actually know.
Yeah.
And because there's so much complication, there's job costs and then there's expenses.
Labor.
So there's overhead expenses, then there's direct job costs. Then there's what are you financing? What do you have terms? You might have terms at the asphalt plant here, but you don't have them in another city. Well, that's cash outlay. Do you have a deposit from a customer? How do you manage all that stuff? So it takes really sitting down and actually running a business. And I see that as the biggest challenge, man, is I don't think everybody really understands how complex it is. It's not just going out doing work and depositing checks. It's way more than that. And I think that a lot of guys, and you can attest to this or disagree with me, but a lot of guys learn that the hard way, right? They get to a point where they're already jammed up. And my advice for people is get yourself around the right people that do have that knowledge, because it's not as complicated as you think it is either, right? It's a lot easier. And so one of the systems that we install is actually a job tracking spreadsheet that anybody can use. You put it into Google Sheets and it actually gives you visibility into all the things that I was just talking about. And that solves a lot of problems, man. And it has helped companies scale from 3-4 million up to 12 million just by creating visibility in the business, right? And visibility in what money's coming in, how you can deploy it, how you can get it moving faster and turning faster. And when you do that, it's just a matter of time until you crush it, right? But once you understand it, everything else falls into place.
Yeah. I mean, cash flow, a lot of people, one of the things I see a lot, and I agree with everything you just said, is people think that cash flow is just that number in the bank. That's that's what you have on hand, right? And if you have too much on hand, well, you're doing something wrong. If you have too little on hand, you're doing something wrong, right? And so they get into this nasty cycle of, hey, I need money, but because they haven't had a lot of cash, sometimes their credit takes a hit, or they have no idea what business credit is, and they don't have the right ways to get it, so they have to go out to more expensive options. I think every business needs a line of credit for emergencies, but they have to set that up prior to, not when the shit is hitting the fan and now they need to go out and secure something. So that cash flow sheet, that's incredible. That I think people don't
I
think
will tell you,
about it.
man, you are a gift to any business owner that's out there that doesn't understand what you just said, because the way that you broke it down to me the first time and the way that you delivered that at our event, I mean, people don't know that stuff, man. They're busy running their businesses and trying to figure the rest of it out. And so anybody out there that's listening, man, that doesn't understand this stuff, this is your guy. And you guys are probably listening. You probably already know that. But just in case you don't, or you haven't ever explored it, you need the answers to those questions, man, because it genuinely saves. And I say that because that saves a lot of businesses, which saves a lot of families and a lot of, imagine what the impact of that is, right? When you have everything financially lined up, man, it saves marriages, it saves kids, it saves all kinds of stuff by just making the right decisions. And to your point, having the knowledge and having the visibility. And if you're a business owner that doesn't know that, don't be ashamed. Do the responsible thing and figure it out, right? Yeah. Go ask the right questions of the right people. People will be more than happy to help you. If you have questions, reach out to people and get the answers, because people out there have them and they're willing to give them to you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why I said to you, this is why I love what I do. If you impact one business, it's not impacting just that business. It's the owner, his family, everyone that works there, and then everywhere where those people spend money, right? So you're actually helping a community. And the more communities you help, I honestly think that the way we improve this country is to improve small business, because small business really runs and provides a lot of the jobs. Yes, might be nice to work at Apple, might be nice to work at Google, but what about everybody else? Because most people are employed by small businesses. So that's why, a program like yours with the education and the content, if somebody actually takes the time to learn that and develops themselves and puts the time in, they're going to run that business a lot more efficiently. And that's going to lead to massive job growth in that little community. That's why we do what we do. We're very similar. That's why we get along. We are very similar.
No question, man. And to go back to your point about, involving my kids and what we do, I don't think there's ever a early enough time in somebody's life to be exposed to great people, and exposed to, what you do or what I do. And, I really believe in that as a form of education, of exposing them to what that looks like, and the confidence that comes along with being in a room of people like that. And those people, treating you, like you're one of the people in the room. Right. And, I'm very careful about not talking to our kids, like their kids. I talk to them. Yep. I tell them what's going on. I know you do too. What's going on in business, what we're working on, what's challenging. I don't put burdens on them, but I let them know, like, it's not always easy, man. And I think that, to your point, you impact the world in many different ways. And it starts with kids, it starts with communities, it starts with small businesses. But as you make those impacts, man, the ripple effect is massive, and that is, for me, that's probably the coolest part of what we get to do as entrepreneurs is, I can bring my kids to work any day, man, or I can have, my little guy up on stage with me at the event, and he gets a look at something, man, that a lot of kids wouldn't get a look at. And hopefully in some way that gives him more confidence or gives him some kind of head start that, he wants to go help people when he gets old enough to do so. And that to me is what it's all about.
I love it. I'll tell you, after I left that event, I started implementing some things, like I discussed investing with my kid, and he was so excited. So I started showing him stocks, some of the digital assets, started talking about real estate. Now every night he wants me to go home. He's 6. And go into that. And that came because, and think about it, this is the impact, right? I was at your event, so you bring your son up on stage, saw the look on his face. I'm like, wow, I really need to start doing this. Now, to the point, I can't bring them to my office. I brought toys for my office and Nerf guns. So when they come in here, nothing gets done. But they love coming in.
Yeah, no doubt. They always love visiting, but you don't want them to stay too long, right? That's the general rule. But no, that's incredible, man. And that is, I believe that's the future of this world, man, is how we teach our kids and what we show them, and the principles that we're able to install in them. And those are things that they never forget, man. I started a couple of years ago, and my financial guy always beats me up about this, but I started a stash account, right? Because it's pretty expensive. Like, it's, I don't know, it's a couple dollars a month or whatever they charge you for it. It's an app on your phone. You can create custodial accounts for your kids.
Oh, cool.
And you can buy like $5 worth of, Disney stock or Apple stock or whatever
Yeah.
you want. And so I started that, and I let the kids actually choose their stocks, right? Like,
Oh, nice.
So and they bought Facebook and Amazon, and my daughter insisted on buying Disney, right? And last year during the pandemic, man, she was heated, right? Because it just took a beating, right? And I'm like, I told you, man, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So her brothers are younger than her, and they're kicking her butt in earnings, right? And
Okay.
but they start to understand what that looks like, in investments. And then they ask, well, why is this one doing better? And why is this? And okay, well, let's pull up the financial report, right? Let's look at the earnings report and see what they say and what's going on at this company and what, well, this is coming from this revenue and this is coming. So it's, it's amazing, man. And I don't think they're ever too young to learn that stuff. And so I'm excited to see, I had a couple people tell me at the event, like, man, you imagine what that kid's going to see when he gets older, like what he's going to think, being around this. And I hope that's the case, man. I hope that's the case for yours too.
It'll 100% be the case, and that's a great idea. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that, because think about this, and this is the scary part. If you don't do that, when was this actually brought up in school? In my case, it wasn't until college. And then if you actually saw what I learned in college versus what the real world is, it's way, way off. Way off.
Yeah, you learned that you could get a credit card in the student union with like a $10,000 or $20,000 limit that you had no money to pay for, right?
Yep.
Back in our day.
Actually, that's 1,000%. And do you know my first big failure in life? There was a real estate thing where they were buying these houses, fixing and flipping it. The only problem was they weren't putting the investors on the deeds. So I had good credit at the time. I was working and going to school. I got all those credit cards at 0% for their introductory period. They were city cards, by the way. Maxed them out, took the cash, put it into the investment. I went away on vacation. I come back, and that company was all over the news. So I was paying off like $25,000 of debt early on because of that company. So that's funny. You're spot on with that.
Crazy, man. It happened to so many kids. I was in the same boat, dude. Ran those credit cards up, like, oh, we need some beer for the fraternity house. I got it, man. No problem. That's not real money. We just swipe the card and take it. It felt like it was like too good to be true. And it really is.
Yep, 100%.
No doubt.
So Brian, what are some of the things that you look for when someone comes to you if they're going to be in top contractor school? Like, talk us through that process.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I look for, man, is people that are really genuinely trying to help others. It's not just about them. They're looking for something obviously for themselves. I think that goes without saying, or they wouldn't be coming. But what are they going to contribute to others, right? And I was just telling you before we got on here, there's a text thread through all the people that are in the inner circle. And dude, that text thread is always, people trying to help each other. And, I don't have to be the one, chiming in. And, sometimes I'm connecting with people, and I dropped your phone number in there today. But, at the end of the day, man, that is, the number one quality that I see in the most successful people that I know and the people that I want to spend the most time with is they're always looking how they can help, right? And how they can serve others. And so that's the number one thing. The second thing is, they got to want to grow, right? If they're kind of in that place where, hey, I'm happy, kind of at this revenue level, or I just want to increase a little bit, or, there's kind of a cap to where I want to be, that's, not to say that we don't have anybody that's, that everybody is looking to have explosive growth, but everybody's looking to grow, right? And I think that's important, because you have to get those like-minded people around each other so that they can, kind of fuel off of each other. And it creates a competitive environment, an environment where, anything becomes possible. After the first quarter of this year, we kind of did a review that following month after everybody got their numbers together. And I think the average person was up like 348% over last year.
Oh my
and
God.
the average company. And that, dude, that just, it really fueled everyone, and there aren't small companies in there, as you know, there's a lot of big companies.
There's some heavy hitters.
So, yeah. And so as the year goes, I'm sure that number will reduce just because it's early in the year. People got off to a great start, but I found that to be a great indicator of who we have in that group, right? Everybody was focused. Everybody wanted to get off to a great start. And so I think that's really the biggest thing, man, is looking for those people who are going to encourage others, who are looking to help others, and who are really looking to give and take as being part of that group. It's not just a place where people come to consume, but a place, that really they're trying to share their knowledge. They have a lot of pride. They have a lot of just that burning desire to help other people.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to apply or reach you or get in touch with you, what is the best way for somebody to track you down?
Yeah, I mean, all the platforms have our company names that are real simple. So my personal handle is Real Brian Hess, Brian with an I, and then Top Contractor School, the Pavement Group are exactly how they sound, and Lead Revenue is the same. If anybody's looking to apply to the Inner Circle, they can contact me directly, or they can find in my Instagram or actually any of my social media. My link tree is in there. So the link tree will take you to a place where it says apply for the Inner Circle. And actually on every single morning podcast, there's a link below those podcasts live that has a link to all the different things that I do. And those redirects will take you to the right place.
Awesome. Any parting words for the listeners, if they're running a business, maybe it's contracting, maybe it's not, what do you got for them?
I will tell you, man, what I wish somebody would have told me sooner and more frequently. And that is, don't be afraid to think too big, and don't be afraid to go after what it is that you want. I look at myself where I'm at right now, and, I just put this post out yesterday. I'd shared something back in 2015. I don't know if you saw this.
I did see that. That was awesome.
Yeah. And it just said, go 10 years out and work backwards. And what I would say to the people listening, and I wish somebody would have said it to me over and over and over again, is, man, you can do a lot more in 10 years than you think. Because, I'm 6 years from that post, and I look and say, like, dude, I would have smoked probably every goal almost on the list, and I'm only 6 years in. And so that just tells you that you're capable of much more. And don't allow people that don't understand how you think or don't understand what you're doing to impact how you think and what goals you set. Because, the world is full of people who are going to try to tell you that you're weird for thinking too big, or, put some kind of label on you for thinking that way. And it is about you and whatever satisfies you and fulfills you when it comes to what you're pursuing. And if that is family, if that is business, if that's spirituality, whatever it is, go all in, man, and get after it and think bigger, because you are capable of far more than what you think.
Dude, I love that. I think that was the best wrap up I've ever had on this podcast. Seriously.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it, dude. I value our friendship a ton, and thank you for everything that you're doing for all the people I care about, and for all the help you've given me. And it means the world to me, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for coming on. Well, guys, if you got something out of this, and I guarantee you did, please share this, leave us a 5-star review, and look up and follow Brian. I can tell you that his stuff is not just motivational, it's educational. And he has some of the best content on Instagram that I have seen, and it is consistent. That's one thing. I am super in awe of how consistent you are with everything you do. So that is a gift. For sure.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. See you on the next one.
Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
Thanks for tuning in to Creating Success Out of Failure. Please share this with someone that needs to hear it, post it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. I'll catch you on the next one.
Creating success out of failure.